Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. You're watching my review of Mackmyra Stjärnrök. I'm Toby and you're watching Whisky Shared. Welcome to my review of Mackmyra Stjärnrök. Stjärnrök stands for Star Smoke and it's the latest seasonal release from Mackmyra in Sweden. This particular sample I bought as part of a Whisky Pioneer subscription. Whisky Pioneer is fairly new to the sample subscription by post format. The difference is that they are trying to recycle as much plastic by working with prevented ocean plastic and putting recycled plastic bottles back into use. So the colour of the plastic is sometimes not clear for that reason, and the sample subscription costs $7.95 a month. The whisky itself can be up to 6 cl because the bottles allow more liquid, but it's a minimum of 5 cl. I pay my subscription like everybody else, so they're not paying me to say anything about them, but it is a great service. Along with the bottle, you also get some guided notes that tell you about the whisky that's featured. So this Mackmyra Stjärnrök, which is Star Smoke, as I mentioned earlier, is the seasonal release from Mackmyra. The whisky itself is non-chill filtered, it's uncoloured, and it's 46.1% ABV. It retails for £62 in the UK, and it's obviously a limited release because it is seasonal. The whisky itself is made from a smoky recipe, which is peated and juniper wood smoke, and also the standard elegant new make recipe that Mackmyra do produce. It's been aged in multiple casks, and they include ex-bourbon, Oloroso, American oak and Swedish oak casks, which have been soaked in cloudberry wine. Should we find out what it tastes like? On to the whisky. Right, because this is the first time I've nosed and tasted it, this will be a first impression review rather than an in-depth review. But let's start with the colour. I'd say that's a nice amber. There really is a good colour to that. Let's start with the nose. Right, so the first thing I get is wood smoke. It's quite sweet. I'm getting some vanilla. Then there's like red fruits. I'm getting like raspberries, maybe some blackberries, but there's definitely lots of berries. Maybe even red grapes as well. And that's definitely like giving like a jammy note. Getting like marzipan and almonds. Also getting some nutmeg. You know, like the smell when you open like an egg custard tart and you get that sort of nutmeg smell. It's lovely. I'm even getting like a hint of like smoked meat, maybe bacon. And there's sort of baking spices along with that nutmeg that I picked up. There's like cinnamon. Let's try it on the palate. Okay, so the first thing I get is this really wafty, ashy smoke. Really dominates on the palate. There's some heat and some chili pepper. Really is like tingling the tongue. Yeah, it really is tingling the tongue. There's also like an oiliness on the palate. Let's have another sip. Yeah, so on top of that sort of ashy smoke, there is like a wood smoke. I'm guessing that comes from the juniper. There is a hint of sort of a vegetal sort of peat note, which is quite nice. Those fruits are starting to come through now. There's that jamminess, those berries, and there's a slight sort of dryness like cranberries, brings a little bit of bitterness. And with that, there's like dry or tannic fortified wine. Let's have one final sip. Yeah, see, for me, along with that sort of heat and chili pepper, that ashy, woody smoke, that jammy, slightly dry, bitter fruits, I'm also getting like a dark chocolate note, which is quite nice. But that smoke really envelops the palate. That's the dominant note. I think the fruitiness is strong enough, but yeah, there's not too many flavours. The flavours that they're very strong and dominant. In terms of finish, I'd say it's long. Really does linger on the palate with that chili pepper tingle. There's some very dry wood there. Not sure if that is coming from the juniper or whether or not it's coming from the wines that are in there, or even just the casks itself. But yeah, it's quite dry. That chili pepper does linger, along with that sort of, that heat that's on the palate. But I wouldn't say the tingling is quite strong, but I wouldn't say the heat level is too high. And there is a sweetness there with the sort of vanilla note that lingers in the background. But for me, I'd say the wafty smoke is a little too much. Yeah, a little too much for my liking, and that chili pepper is a little overpowering. But I do think that the combos are quite interesting. I think it's probably the sort of dram that maybe you could get used to, or maybe this is right up your street. At £62, I don't think it's over the top for a Mackmyra seasonal release. And for the effort that's gone in it, there's quite a lot of different casks that have been blended together to get the right flavour profile. But I'm really glad I've tried it. I'm going to enjoy this as much as I can off camera and get to know it. But first impressions are, it's probably not my cup of tea. It's nice enough, but some of those flavours, like that wafty smoke and that chili pepper, just turned up a little bit too much for my liking. But if it does sound up your street, I'll put a link in the description to both Whisky Pioneer, in case you're interested in what they're doing, and Mackmyra, so you can check out the seasonal release. And if it isn't for whatever reason, and you're not a major fan of the tasting notes, then hopefully I'll see you next time. Stauncher.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment, and please consider subscribing for more videos like this.